Okay, I want to talk about a game that I've talked about previously on this podcast, but it was a very early episode, and I know that we have more people now. But I want to talk about Twilight Imperium. And I want to talk about this game because this game uh, is a substantial experience for me in my whole gaming history, I guess I could say. The first time I played Twilight Imperium was like the first year that I was actually into board games. It was the third edition. It was fantastic. But I want to talk about the fourth edition and how just fantastic it is. Now, in general, this is a giant space opera of a game where you have different races and you're vying for control over planets or other ways to score points. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail because it's a very big game. But that's essentially what's happening, and you're trying to negotiate with people. There's a big focus on the meta of the game to try and score your victory points in various ways. But this game, what it does well is it creates a feeling of epicness, okay? And I know that there's a complaint about this game about it being super long. Actually, I wouldn't say complaint, but what's the word I'm looking for? Wait, I'm gonna think of this word, and it's gonna be really good. Nope. I have like half a cold right now. I'm just gonna blame that for right now. I'm doing great. Okay, so it's known. Reputation, that's the word. It has a reputation
Good word.
of thank you, of being super long and overwhelming, of which it totally can be. However, after years of playing this game, and I think we probably average 4 games a year. Actually, it's probably a bit higher than that. But anyway, I think we have it down to a science where our games are able to take anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. 4 hours being the max. They're averaging at about 3 hours. Now, this has been a formula that we've hit to hit that hours, that time length, and we've kind of perfected it over time. So what we do, and this is the reason I want to bring this up, is I want to talk about how we can get it down to 3 hours. This of course is not a perfect way to do this, but this is what we do. How we do this is there's only 3 of us that play. And I know people are saying it needs at least 4 or more to work. However, in our experience, 3 is just wonderful, and we feel like we get a full game out of it. The game has to be set up beforehand, and so that takes time. And it does take some planning, right? We still aren't going to just toss this up in the night or in an evening and play an evening. Now, if we plan before, we probably can, because it only takes about 3 hours. So making sure it's set up, making sure people's factions are also selected, and then just being able to get started. And the reason TI4 is so amazing for our group is because they have really streamlined it and simplified it in ways that just make sense. We do not really have to do a big rule review every time we play this game. They do that great thing of breaking up the rules into a learn to play book and then a rules reference book, and they've just kind of perfected it at this point. So we're able to just kind of jump into it. Your player board has a great little cheat sheet of the steps of everything. And it's just fun. Every time we play it, it's been close. It's been a tight game. And I just think TI4 has really upped its level. Now, there are people that want to play it with us. So the question is, well, we have this formula down. How are we going to do that, right? Other people want to play. So I am going to have a game at some point this year where we have maybe a 5-6 player game, and just plan for an all-day event for that. And that can be like a once a year thing for me. But being able to just play once a quarter and have that experience is just fantastic. Now, my brother-in-law, he had a goal last year to play once a month, and he's one in that group of 3 of us, and it didn't happen, but I think he played like 8 or 9 times last year. And it's great. Have you played this? I know we talked about it before, but I don't remember your experience with this.
Yeah, I did. I played the 4th edition, and very much so I was under the assumption, or had known about the reputation of Twilight Imperium being the crazy long game as it is, which is hilarious because I played a game of diplomacy which literally lasted 10 plus hours.
Yeah,
even
exactly.
longer, right? And that depends on how long the whole the time where you go and negotiate with people are. So it's like a half hour of negotiation per time, and that could be longer or shorter if you do diplomacy in person. Yet I digress. Twilight Imperium 4th Edition, I remember it fondly. 3 players as well. When playing it, it came to me fairly, not simply, but it wasn't as complex as I had imagined it would be. So the amount of time that was spent trying to, when playing the game, I think the majority of the time went to actually trying to figure out what you wanted to do, which I think is time that is well spent.
Yes.
Because then what ends up happening is that time flies by. You look up at the clock, you start at noon, it's 4:00, and you're like, where did that time go? It's because you have been engaged and you're making thoughtful choices and thinking that whole entire time. And so that's always a good sign that you're playing something that is really captivating. And I think Twilight Imperium 4th Edition seemed to have done that. Now, I can't speak in regards to what Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition did. Again, especially if you did include the expansions of that game, that things could get a little bit intense.
Yeah, and we did. And so I had the 3rd edition with both expansions, and we just kind of chose. Thank you. We did just certain modules, not all of them, and so there's still a ton of game to unpack. But once again, they brought all the good stuff into the 4th edition. One other thing we did, I forgot to mention, was by default in the game, you're only supposed to reveal one public objective card each round. We actually had all 10 out. 5 stage 1 and 5 stage 2 at the beginning of the game, so people can start planning and just take them as they achieve them, rather than having them be revealed. And that's actually a variant in TI3 as well, which we just brought in. So anyway, it's just a great game. It is a staple of my collection. And it's totally worth jumping into. If anyone is kind of hesitant because of its complexity or game length, I totally understand it, but know that if you put the effort into it, it will totally be worth it. And that is Twilight Imperium 4th Edition. Oh, it's by Fantasy Flight Games and
Little company.
Christian Peterson. What?
Little company.
Yeah, yes.
Tiny little independent company out in Roseville, Minnesota.
By former Asmodee North America president Christian T. Peterson, and it's Corey Konitzka helped with the 4th edition a lot. And man, do I love his stuff. So that's great.
He's talented.